You are now tuning into Out the Box Radio Show. Entertainment at its best. Hot topics, games, and unforgettable interviews. Welcome to the show.
No drums. No.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to Out the Box Radio Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Now, we're doing things a little bit different today
Yes.
than we normally do.
I'm usually on the other side.
That too. She's usually on my left side, so I'm going to have to get used to looking over to my right. Now, we normally start off with topics, but we're going to scratch that today because we have a lot to cover with our very special guest who's actually sitting directly next to me, looking gorgeous as ever. We have Miss Isabelle Zombron. Welcome to Out the Box Radio Show.
Welcome.
Absolutely. Now, we're also joined by mother and father, so Elizabeth and Josh Zombron as well. Welcome to the studio. Thanks for coming out to Baltimore.
Absolutely.
Because you guys are coming from Tyson's Corner.
We are, and on a
Yes.
historic day like today, waking up to news of Representative Elijah Cummings'
Yep.
tragic passing. So it was a wonderful opportunity to give her a quick lesson
Some
in
background.
history and
Yes.
the importance of the civil rights movement and what Mr. Cummings has been, devoted to in his final days. So
absolutely.
it's been wonderful. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
No, and thank you both.
His
Now-
office is right next to mine. Do you know that?
wow.
Is it?
I'm gonna miss it because they used to ride on the sidewalk, like park the car right on the sidewalk. I'm not gonna miss that.
Well, I guess when you
Yeah.
have that seniority, you can do that.
Right.
Just gotta walk
Yeah, it was
around the
news
car.
cameras out there all day today.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
Probably will be
Yeah.
for a few days.
for a few days.
Most
yeah.
likely, yeah. Well, again, thank you all for coming. We do have a great show. We have a lot to cover today,
Yeah.
which I'm excited about. I know Jonay is excited as
I
well.
am.
And hopefully, parents and Isabelle, we hope you're excited too. You are? Okay. I gotta make sure, do a little pulse check first to make sure she's good. Yeah, I want to make sure she's comfortable and ready to go. Now, what I do want to do first is kind of mix things up a little bit. I do want to ask you a question, Isabelle, but then after a question, I want to show a video clip, if you're okay with that. Yep. You'll be a little bit familiar with what this clip is. But first, I want to know, how did you get involved with charity work?
When I was 8 years old, my godfather passed away from cancer, and it was so hard watching him go through it, and I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for younger kids to go through it as well.
Right.
So I joined the organization Dance Hope Cure, which connects dancers and young kids fighting cancer.
Well, I'm definitely sorry to hear about the passing, but I admire you for what you're doing.
Yes.
Because you do not see kids your age, 13 right now, right? We do not see kids your age doing this in the community. So I admire you, and I thank you for the work that you're doing. Because I'm not going to cry. I told myself I'm not going to cry today. You know me.
Yeah,
I get emotional sometimes.
he does get emotional.
But I love helping and volunteering as well. So to
He
see
does.
somebody so young doing that, I wish I had that opportunity when I was younger. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into this clip, you talked about the organization. Sorry, I'm elbowing her. Dance Cure Hope. And I do want to know, with that organization, how were you involved? Like, what were some of the activities that you were doing?
I would meet young kids with cancer, and we would have photo shoots, and we would just hang out and get to know each other.
Yeah. I did see one young girl on your page, on your Instagram. What was her name?
Kaden?
Kaden? And do you still keep in contact with her?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Nice.
so sweet. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's nice.
Oh, and I'm sure she loves having like a mentor and role model like yourself to lean on, especially because for kids, they get sometimes a little uncomfortable with adults
Yeah.
or someone
that's
that
true.
they don't think they can connect to. So you have that special connection. So keep that. Please do. Keep that connection. That's awesome. We're excited. We want to show a clip.
Yeah.
I want the viewers to get to know a little bit more about what you do and what you've done in the community. And we'll see a little bit of what we just talked about too, won't we? So let's take a look at this clip for an interview that you were doing with ABC7.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. Everyone take a look.
This year, more than 15,000 children in this country will hear the words, "You have cancer," a diagnosis that rocks a family. A young ballet dancer hopes to inspire some of the youngest cancer fighters.
I've been dancing since I was 16 months old.
From a baby at the ballet bar to an award-winning dancer.
I see talent, I see enthusiasm, I see dedication.
And still, what you don't see is even more impressive. Isabelle Zombron's passion to keep her godfather's memory alive. Chris Fitzgerald lost his battle against cancer 3 years ago.
We were very close to him, and he went to all my dance recitals and birthday parties. My godfather died of cancer when I was 8 years old, and it was so terrible to see him go through all those treatments, and I couldn't imagine how hard it would be for younger kids to go through it as well.
His memory lives on through her work offstage. Zombron's a voice for children fighting cancer through the organization Dance Hope Cure. Zombron joined the organization's childhood cancer awareness campaign, and she's met survivors like 4-year-old Caden. The goal is to inform the public through social networking sites that there's a critical need for funding for pediatric cancer research.
I think it makes them happy to know that they have someone like me that supports them.
The two connect through their love of dance and exchange smiles, a much-needed distraction.
No matter how long you are on this planet, whether you're here for 3 or 4 years, an entire lifetime, dance is something that makes you feel alive.
And in addition to her community service, Zombron is homeschooled and trains more than 4 hours a day. She has won multiple regional and national titles, and next month she travels to Austria to compete against ballet dancers from around the world for the European Ballet Grand Prix. Wow. We, of course, wish her all the best.
Wow. First of all,
Okay.
I watched this clip first earlier, actually yesterday, and today I watched it again because it was so powerful. I mean, how does it make you feel to look back at that and see like your involvement and your impact that you had? It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and you should be. You should be very proud. I love it. Yeah.
I do too.
Yes.
I was just looking at your dance moves, and there's only
have
one
some
dance
skills.
that I do. One dance.
She
I
knows
will-
the Baltimore two-step
I will Baltimore two-step to everything.
to anything.
I think you should do that on point, Isabelle.
Yeah.
You should, you know,
I'm
if she
sure.
was on that stage with you, that's what you would see her doing in the background. Is Baltimore two-stepping.
That is so true. That is so true. But I used to take dance classes when I was little, and I could never get ballet because I'm very, very, very knock-kneed. So it was always difficult, and I always wanted to do ballet, and I just couldn't do it. It's so pretty to me. It's very beautiful.
elegant,
It is very elegant and just pretty. So yes, you did great. But I do have a question about Power Packs. So tell us a little bit about that.
I started volunteering at an organization called Food for Others, and they package meals for kids and families that have low income and aren't as fortunate. And Power Packs are where they package meals and they bring it to different schools for kids who don't have enough money to have food over the weekend.
Right.
So they have food for them.
Right. So oftentimes you'll see that the kids, they'll get their one hot meal of the day,
Yeah.
their school lunch.
Yeah.
So what happens is when they go home over the weekend, the concern is that they don't have enough food, that they don't have access to nutritious food. So then this organization collects donations, which, you know, she'll help sort through the donations, she'll help sort through the foods and package the foods, and then there are volunteers who will come on Fridays and deliver these power packs to the area schools. So then when the school kids leave school on Friday afternoon, they can take a pack home with them,
Nice.
and it'll sustain them until they come back to school on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Izzy, that was the first time that we've seen that clip, and this was just last year, and this was literally a week before we jetted off to Vienna, Austria to compete. And every person who's seen that clip has asked her, so how did you do? I mean, how did you do in Europe? Do you have an update?
Yeah.
I won the gold medal.
Oh,
Okay. Yes.
Congratulations.
Talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I also won the Fanny Essler Award, which is important because Fanny Essler was the most famous Austrian ballerina.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's so
Okay.
good. 2 amazing awards.
Her name was announced, everyone was shocked because
Yeah.
you know in Europe, Justin and I were talking. In Europe, these dancers, they're 10 years old and they move away from home, and they train full time. They cook for themselves. They do their own laundry. They're really supported by government funding. There's more funding for the arts over there, so it was a rude awakening, right? You went there and you saw how dedicated these dancers were. So for us, it was like, you know, taking what we learned there and bringing it home and comparing it to, you know, the arts programs that we have here, and, you know, seeing the disparity in the funding that we have here for the arts. That was kind of, you know, kind of earth shattering for us, and we knew what we wanted to do, what we wanted to talk about, and where we wanted to gain traction. But, you know, for her, she mentioned Fanny Essler, and Fanny is one of the most prominent ballerinas in history. And, you know, in Austria, which is where the competition was, there are dozens of people who dedicate their entire lives to preserving her memory. So usually that Fanny Essler Prize, which was the last prize announced for the night, it usually goes to a very gifted Austrian ballet dancer. Or if there's not a very gifted Austrian ballet dancer, then it's a senior European dancer. So when they announce the name of 11-year-old American girl, you could hear the audible gasp throughout the auditorium.
Oh, they were hating.
Yeah.
Just hating.
Because it was well deserved. Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And her face was priceless.
I'm sure it was.
Well, what did your face look like? Now I'm curious.
I should have brought the
It's a
clip.
reenactment.
Yeah, we can do that.
I can imagine.
Yeah, well, yeah, because one, you're on the spot and you're like anticipating that moment of like, is it me? Is it me? Who is it? And then everyone's reaction, like you're feeding off of their reaction too. So
Yeah, I think once the gold medal was announced, and she was like, "Wow, I can't believe I won the gold." But then with the last prize of the night, and they said, and the most important prize of the night, we're like, oh, whatever, you know, let's celebrate the gold. And then suddenly they announced her name, and I think she looked at us.
They can give it to any age group, so you don't assume it's going to go to a younger girl.
And you were 11 at the
She
time.
was 11.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that was just...
That's big.
But that shows your talent.
Exactly.
You can't ignore that because clearly she got 2 awards. Sorry, other ladies, but you have your moment, and you probably may have already had your moment. Now it's Isabel's moment. So we're happy to hear that. Absolutely.
And I think we were proud, right? Because you pulled through the injury. She was dancing with a back injury, and you, being a former dancer, you know your back, your core. That's 100% of what you do.
Yeah.
So she did not get through a single practice, and she went out there and she had to compete through 2 rounds, and then perform in the gala. So it was one of those moments where you looked at her as a 1-year-old just enjoying baby ballerina, and then you looked at her determination there, and you asked yourself, okay, is this real? Is this really something that you're doing because you feel passionate about it, or is it something that you're doing as a hobby? Is it something, where do you want to go with this? And so, you know, that's the difficult part that you and I have talked about, right, Isabelle, with you juggling. Can you kind of share with Justin and Janae kind of your decision-making process right now with everything that's up in the air?
Yeah, so I just recently went back to public school after being online schooled for 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Ooh, I'm so sorry. It's my mother. She knows better than that.
And it's hard now because I have to go to school full time and balance out my homework and my other acting projects and volunteer work, and it's a lot.
I'm sure.
And then dancing too with her company. So it's a lot. So
it's pressure.
Right. How was that transition though? Going like from going homeschool to public school, because school can kids today.
Yeah. It was really scary, and I was really nervous because I went from being in 3rd grade to going into 8th grade, and that's a big difference.
It's a big jump.
Yeah,
it's a big jump. Especially the kids that you're around, that age level difference is going to be like, oh.
The hormones, child. And then you're pretty, and you know how girls can be. And the guys.
Well, hopefully.
See, even Janae's talking
I know,
about that.
girl. But you can handle it. You can handle it. You won a competition with a back injury. So anything anybody says to you should
just
roll
bring your
off your
award in
back.
and walk by and don't say nothing.
Right.
Just hold your award
Just
up,
like
and it speaks for itself.
So, Janae, you might be able to offer her some advice.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the difficult aspects of going back to school is some of these kids know that she's been filming and that she's, had some dance opportunities.
Right.
And that makes it even that much harder.
Yeah.
So
it's like being a celebrity. You don't know who's genuine, who really wants to be your friend for who you are, or they just want to get close to you just to see what fruits they can get from all of your hard work. It's difficult to shift through, but it's very possible. You'll be okay.
But
I've got tips. Don't worry.
I need to know some too. Train me. But the good thing as well, though, Isabelle, I feel like it might be so new for you and challenging and scary, but think also about all these opportunities that you have that kids wish they had. And all these classmates, I'm sure you've heard this before, all these classmates around you, some of them had goals and dreams and aspirations too, maybe not entertainment, maybe some of them do, and you're able to kind of keep yourself occupied and busy in a good way. I mean, you won so many awards, and how many people in your class and fellow classmates can also say the same thing? Hopefully a few, maybe maybe none, but that makes you stand out, and that makes you a star. Yes. Now, we're going to flip around a little bit here. I do want to, because we're going to go into all the things that you do, right? Because we talked a little bit about entertainment. So we're going to get into all avenues of entertainment. Before we do, I also want to ask you, though, because I was reading this in another article from an interview that you did, and it stood out to me, and I really want to ask you about, there was, over the past couple years, you and your brothers have helped to raise money to purchase gifts. And I want you to tell the viewers what these gifts were, who they were for, and what you were doing and your brothers were doing.
During the holidays, my brothers and I, we raised money to perform a holiday show for hospice and nursing home patients. And we went out and bought them gifts, and we hand-delivered them across the hospital.
Nice.
Yeah, and the reason that was important was because what we noticed was my grandfather in the last 5 years of his life had been in hospice and long-term care at a very reputable home. And we were there every day to visit. But what we noticed, there was an overwhelming number of residents who didn't have family or friends, not a single phone call, not a single visitor. And so over the holidays, her and her brothers got together and they raised the money. We went out and bought 140 some odd gifts. So you're talking about shaving kits, warm socks, slippers, perfume, cologne, things like that to people who weren't going to get a present otherwise. And so they wrapped them, and then they brought them, and there was a musical performance. She performed a solo to a wonderful opera song. And then all three of them literally went room to room and delivered the presents to each resident, and then they sat and had a few minutes of conversation with each resident and helped them open up the gifts too. And for a lot of these residents, outside of the nursing staff, that was the only interaction they got. Yeah. So that was wonderful, and we hope to do that every holiday, but I have to tell you, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult, it takes so many people, so many volunteers to organize something that large, and funding. These kids, like you're going to get into some of the projects that she does. Well, both of her brothers are in entertainment too, and they've resorted to donating all of the income that they make from filming, from performances, from all that. They're donating to a new charitable foundation that will target the two most vulnerable segments in society, and that's the elderly and children. So, and that was something that they decided to do. I mean, they would get their paychecks from music video or a movie or a television show and turn it around and figure out, which project to put it towards. So
isn't that something?
That is. How often do you guys wake up and say, "Wow, we have some great kids"?
Some great kids.
Well, it depends on the day, Trey.
Well, for the most part, we have some great kids.
Well, Isabelle, why don't you tell everyone why you chose to volunteer and why it's important?
Yeah.
My family, we've been volunteering for 4 generations now, so it's important to us, and the reason that it's most important to me is because I want to be able to help as many people as I can and help people in my community and inspire others to help out in their community as well.
Right. That's awesome. Making a difference, which is important to do. Yeah.
And I think when a light bulb went off in her head that she could actually do this was...
After winning one of my national titles, I walked off stage and there was a group of tiny dancers, 3 and 4 years old, and they were waiting for me, and I realized that they saw me as a role model and they looked up to me.
Yes.
Oh,
that's inspiring. Oh,
that would have made me cry. I love little babies.
Yes.
I love little kids. So
it was cute.
It was.
I
know it was. Oh my
Makes me
god.
cry right now.
The little people.
It's cute. Now you mentioned that, I might have to let you guys know about opportunities that are coming up. There's a company, have you heard of them, called Comfort Cases in DC?
No.
Oh wow.
We'll get you connected.
Yeah.
So we are close friends with the CEO, Rob Shear.
Okay.
He has a book out. There's a movie deal coming out that he's starring in with his husband, and he has 4 foster kids that he adopted, all brothers and sisters in the DC area. And he started a company years ago called Comfort Cases, where it's geared towards kids that are in foster care, and he stuffs school backpacks with necessity items and clothing, blankets, stuffed animals, coloring books, snacks, shoes, things that they need, even toothbrushes and toothpaste, because you wouldn't imagine how some of these foster care kids don't even have a toothbrush.
Yeah.
I fostered 2 young girls for a year, and it was so sad. They came in with nothing but the clothes on their back, literally nothing in their hands, which is very unfortunate and sad to see. So he provides them with something, so these kids, if they are going from home to home, they have something to take with them and cherish.
Yes.
And you have volunteering opportunities all the time where they need people to help stuff these backpacks and give them out to these kids. So I'm going to let you guys know about that when it comes up, because I would love to have you all, and Isabelle, you as well, join our side when we do this. Because we helped as a Out the Box Radio volunteer together one time.
Well, we have an army of our own with a lot of people who have been there. She started when she was 8. Her brother started even earlier, and I've been doing this for 37 years now. So we've got a bunch of really caring and compassionate people who are always looking to help, especially a child. And Justin, since you mentioned the 2 girls that you fostered, Isabelle had seen a certain clip of somebody recognizable on Vacation Creation.
Oh.
And she didn't see that on your question list, but would you like to ask Justin about what it was that landed him on Vacation Creation? Justin.
Well, honestly, and this is, I was very grateful for the opportunity. It was amazing, not because I got to go on a cruise. I didn't care about going on a cruise, even though it was my first cruise. That wasn't it for me. I do, over the past 5 or 6 years, a lot of volunteering as well in my community with several different organizations. And just like you, I have a heart and a passion for giving back to those, especially who really need it the most. And in addition to that, I started having a passion for like childcare. Like I love children. I'm just always like the big child where kids always just look up to me and love me, and I let them climb all over me and do whatever they want. I'm that person. I love that. So for me, I wanted to, I did babysitting for a while, but it wasn't enough for me, and I decided I'm going to start the process of fostering and adoption. And so along with that, trying to help a kid in need and then volunteering, I did get scouted from the show to participate as a guest. I took my old best friend with me on the series, and we went for a week to different places. But for me, like the best part of it was just being able to talk about that opportunity and what I was looking to do, and talk to people who could relate and give me feedback on what it's like to raise a child as a single parent. Because at the time, I'm married now. I wasn't at the time, and I was doing it alone, which was hard.
It's not easy.
Say the least. I never heard anyone say it was, to be honest with you. But now the good thing is, I'm married now, and we both have the same goals. So in the next year, we're planning to start that process again, as well as purchasing a home. So doing 2 big things at one time.
Ow.
But we want a home first. So they have a safe place.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Vacation creation.
When I tell you guys, our first time, I think, in this network, RadioOnFire, because we used to be on a different network, Out the Box Radio Show. Our first episode on RadioOnFire was my vacation creation episode, where I talked about the entire journey and experience. I'll just say this. I'm not going to recap too much. It was fun, but I would not probably do that again.
It sounds like we need to have an offline conversation.
Maybe, maybe.
Off-air conversation.
But I'm still in connects with a few of the hosts and the producers of the show as well. So they just finished their last season. Season 3. I don't know if they're doing any more seasons. I actually just talked to one of the previous hosts, Tommy Davison, who was not on season 3. And he says most likely they're done, but they might get picked up by a different network. So fingers crossed that does happen, because all those people who were on that series had amazing stories.
Yes.
Yes.
It's heartwarming. And this season in particular, they were trying to target families with teenagers.
Yeah.
Trying to target that demographic.
I've noticed that as well.
So that was a slight, change in this season, and that was good, because I think Isabelle can talk to the fact that as young people, they don't think that they really have the power to make a difference. And so that's why when the younger kids see what she's doing, they're like, oh, wait a minute, she's not much older than me. I can do that too. I can make a difference in my community. So oftentimes, when she performs and then she has people come up and take pictures with her or whatever, we hear all the time, that she inspired these children to go out and help an elderly neighbor. Or, just something like that. And it's wonderful, because she's always enjoyed this, but to know that it actually makes a difference too. And it's, kind of the ripple effect, that you're not directly involved in it, but people are taking it upon themselves now. Not just people, young people. And that's the key, right? Because you see lots of adults volunteering, but younger kids, unless it's for their civics project.
It's hard to positively influence the youth. That's harder to do. Always been hard to do. So when you have someone
they think
like
they
Isabelle
know
as a role
everything.
model-
That's the thing.
Well, and that.
They think they know everything.
Sometimes
So
they
it's
do.
hard to influence somebody that thinks they know it all. That's why it's so hard for young people. I learned that the hard way. I used to think I knew everything until I got older. And then I understood everything that my mother was trying to tell me, So.
You mean that's going to happen?
It will.
A few years.
Right, yeah. Let me see. How old was I when I realized it? Probably hit me. I was about 25 when I finally was. It hit me like, oh my gosh.
Oh, Janae.
Oh my gosh.
I was hoping to see light at the end of the
I'm
tunnel.
telling you.
That's a long time from now.
That's 12 more years.
Because I left when I finished school, when I finished college, I was about 21, 22. I still thought I'm like, listen, I finished college, I got my degree, I'm good. I packed up, I went to Hampton in Virginia, packed up, moved to New York because I always wanted to live in New York. Moved to New York, got 2 jobs, lived in Queens, and was doing okay, and then I got homesick. And then I got married. And then I moved back. And then just a whole bunch of stuff from like 21 all the way until like 25. It hit me to say, you know what, everything mommy and daddy was telling me was really for my own good. So I'm just telling you, you know, it sounds crazy and it may sound like they don't understand, like that y'all don't get it. And I used to say that to my parents too, like, you guys were my age 100 years ago. This is a different time.
Not 100 years
this
ago.
is different.
Don't say that to me.
This is different. You don't understand, but listen, there's nothing new under the sun, and everything that they're telling you, I promise you, like, they're not telling you anything
for a
wrong.
reason.
Yes, trust me. You don't want to. Yeah, I had
Put your glasses
I had
back
to
on.
put my glasses back on.
You gotta have
I
a
was getting
lesson
ready to,
moment.
I got lots of lessons. I still learn sometimes. I'm 32 now.
By the grace of God, you're sitting
Yes,
here after
yes.
all the decisions that have been
Yes,
made, right?
yes, definitely by the grace of God. Because if it was up to me, I'd put myself in so many positions, and it was just not listening and not. Now, I wouldn't say paying attention. I just didn't listen.
I think we just hit something.
Let's elaborate.
I just didn't listen. I legitimately just thought, because I'm a Virgo, I'm a true Virgo. I analyze everything. So even before I make a decision, I will break it all the way down and then go. But even with my little finite mind, I didn't know it all. So my parents would tell me something, and I'm like, whatever, you don't know. You're old. I'm like, this is a new world. But it's not. I'm serious.
The trends may
There's no magic carpet on your legs.
Yeah.
But
Not
no,
a whole
and
world.
once you get to a point where you realize that everything is a cycle. It's a cycle. Now it may be a little worse now, but it's the same thing.
It's the age of social media. You know that. Had I been growing up during this, it would have been so much more stressful because everything you say, everything you wear, all of that, you know, could get picked on
That's
social
very
media.
true.
You know, so I think it's more difficult now going through school because, you know, let's face it, people
People are so mean.
Yeah. See, yeah.
But that never happens, right, Isabel?
Definitely not.
Of course it doesn't. But no, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
You'll be okay. All right, I'm done.
I'm letting her have her moment. It's okay.
She's just sharing her wisdom.
I think she needs to call her mom after
Yeah.
this,
All right,
Her
she
mom was
called me,
calling.
and my mother knows better.
Uh-huh.
She
She gonna call you and say, you
she's
called me
gonna be
100 years old. You heard that, Mama? Your Mama Simmons, she called you 100. I think you're beautiful and young,
Mommy, you're
but
not 100.
I'm not the one who said
She's
that.
going to answer saying, I told you so.
I get a lot. I got a lot of that. I tried to tell you.
So I do want to shift some of our questions into dance, but also acting as well.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to try to see what we can get through in the bit of time that we have left. But I do want to ask about the company Terra Firma. Am I saying it right? Terra Firma.
Yes.
Tell us about that organization.
Terra Firma is a professional contemporary ballet company based in DC that I'm currently dancing with.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful experience because the artistic director, right, has a wonderful relationship with her, and he had danced at San Francisco Ballet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But she's the only minor that's with their company as
Wow.
a junior, as a company member.
How does that
So-
feel, though, Isabelle? Like being the only minor?
It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's inspiring, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that also means that she's standing at the bar next to professionals who've been dancing for 15 years,
Yeah.
you know, with larger companies. So it really, I think, pushes you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's been a great experience. Justin and I were just talking, like the whole dance thing just happened so quickly. I mean, 1 minute she was a 1-year-old at the ballet bar, and then the next she was 8 years old competing at nationals, and then you saw the clip from right before she went to Europe, and literally she was being interviewed by Austrian media, and I think there were Germans and French medias, Hungarians too, and they were interviewing her, and I get a call from the casting director of House of Cards, and he's like, "Where are you?" And I said, "Vienna." Instead of Vienna as in Austria, I'm like, Vienna as in Austria. He's like, "What are you doing there?" I'm like, "Well, Isabelle just kind of won a gold medal." "Oh my gosh, congratulations. I need you on set." So that was her first time on set, right, Bells?
Yeah.
So
House of Cards. Nice.
she's had the opportunity to work on some really cool projects.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell Justin and Janae what your favorite project's been so far?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, please do.
That's our world right there. Everything, that's
Speaking of the choir
our
now.
thing.
Sing in the choir. Sing your favorite projects.
My favorite project has probably been the Elton John video for his farewell
Elton
tour.
John. Oh my gosh. Talk about that. How was that?
It
That's
was
amazing
it was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
I got to work on it with my brother, and it was really cool. It's Elton John, and he's like a
Elton
music
John.
legend. And
He's Elton John.
Yeah.
Yes.
he has done a lot for.
Takes your
Yeah.
breath away. That's his farewell tour. That's memorable right
You
there.
know,
Yeah.
300 shows in his farewell tour.
Yeah.
You know, after a
Nice.
50-some-odd year career.
Yeah.
So it was all done very secretively.
Yeah.
We had to get them to Atlanta, and everything was very hush-hush, but it was
Yeah.
the most amazing experience. And it's something that, you know, was kind of surreal when they
Yeah.
saw themselves. Here's Elton playing
Yeah.
live,
I wouldn't know
singing
what to
Border
think,
Song,
yeah.
and there's Isabelle right behind him.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful. But tell Justin and Janae why. It's not just that Elton's a music legend, but why? Why did you find it so interesting and so wonderful to be able to work on that video? What is it that you admire about Elton?
He has raised a lot of money to others to help other people,
Yeah.
and I feel like has changed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We just went through the list of every foundation that he's donated to, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
difference. And I mean, it's a long list. So they both thought it was so cool. You know?
And I had no idea that how much he really did, you know? And I don't know if people do know that about Elton aside
They
from his
just-
music career.
They just knew that he had contributed a ton to AIDS research.
Yeah.
But there is literally
A
a
running list.
long list of
Wow.
all these organizations that he's helped with, you know.
Wow.
And that would be Sir Elton John.
Yeah,
Right.
sorry,
Yeah.
Sir Elton John.
You get that title, you want to use it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You have to make sure you use that. Well, that's an amazing opportunity.
Did he sing that song?
No.
We'll cut that part out. Well, you can ask the fun question for Isabelle because I would love to know this one.
Oh no.
Because it's about dance.
Oh no.
So, if you could teach a dance class, if you were Miss Isabelle, the
Miss
dance
Izzy,
teacher,
yes.
Miss Izzy, what would be 2 important lessons or reminders that you have learned that you would teach your students?
I would definitely say to not give up because dance is really hard and you're going to not want to do it some days, but if you give up, then you're not going to accomplish your goals and you're
That's
not going to be
true.
happy with yourself. And I would also say to don't compare yourself to other people and set goals for yourself.
Which a lot of people do.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's
I
very
still
hard.
do that as an adult.
Yeah. Well, and
Something
it's
I'm
such
struggling
a, me and your mother were talking before the show, it's such a competitive environment and industry of entertainment, whether you're in dance, acting, modeling, singing, you name it. So if you compare yourself to others, you're going to quickly fall below.
Exactly.
You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You
You
know, stay
don't.
on your toes like ballerinas.
Right. That is very true.
Yeah.
That's very good advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm gonna take that too. I have to listen to that myself sometimes.
Well, I also want to know, because we didn't get into acting too much yet. We did mention House of Cards, which actually I did. What season did you do an episode on?
Season 6.
Oh, season
the last
6.
season,
The last,
and
yeah.
it was just a featured role.
Yeah.
But it was such a wonderful experience, and literally from that project,
Yeah.
she jumped into 11 others.
Yeah.
And we were basically living
Yeah.
part-time in Atlanta at that point.
Yeah.
We were in Atlanta so much.
The platform for House of Cards is an amazing one that people don't even realize. But people who've done acting in this area of the DMV would know, even if it's not a lead role, because I only had a feature too in supporting role. But all of those roles, once you do that, because the production is so professional, so great, and they speak to other people.
They do.
When you go to work on set. So the good thing is you'll have, like you mentioned, you'll have opportunities that come to you even from that type of production. So shout out to all the actors who have been on House of Cards, because I'm sure you guys will all agree.
I wasn't on House of Cards, but I was on Veep.
No.
Oh yeah, Veep. Yeah.
And it was the same. I mean,
Like
it's
the
a
same-
lot of
yeah.
it's about the same.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
a lot of the same DMV actors and just people working on the production or from the area.
Yeah.
So they worked on both.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
I did
Justin
Veep.
and I were talking beforehand, and we were saying, the talent in the DMV, you tend to run into the same talent all
Yes,
the time,
you
and you get
do.
to know people.
Yeah.
And as projects come up, we had a director contact us and say, hey, I need to do a documentary. I'm bringing my crew in, but local talent. Who can you recommend to me? So it's wonderful to be able to promote local talent
Absolutely.
as often as we can,
Yeah.
because she's all over, because she's been invited to dance with professional companies, and
Right.
you can tell where you've danced. Where have you been invited
Yeah, tell us
to
about
dance?
some of the places. Yeah.
I've been invited to dance through North America, Europe, and Asia.
Wow.
So
Nice.
wherever we go, right?
Yeah.
You meet all this wonderful talent, and to hear if someone's from the DMV, like we're meeting one of the commercials that you just did, Recycle Right. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I was just in a commercial called Recycle Right, which aired 8 months every
Daily.
day.
Yeah.
And it taught people about recycling and how it affects the environment.
Why you do it, and
Yeah.
what is acceptable to
Well, I want
recycle.
to ask that, because I don't even always know.
Oh yeah.
So what are some things, Isabelle?
Justin?
Yeah, well, at my job, people know, and I just give them the stuff and they recycle if it's supposed to be recycled. But yeah, tell us about, for those like myself who don't really know, what are some things that are okay or should be recycled versus maybe not?
Like cans and plastic.
Right. Paper.
Yeah.
A lot of the takeout plastic containers, people just don't think about and just toss in the trash.
Yeah.
And she had a four-legged co-star
Aw.
who, that was interesting. That was the first time you had filmed with a four-legged
Aw,
co-star. The
that's
dog was
awesome.
incredibly bright.
Yeah.
She handed the water bottle to the dog, and the dog would carry it over to the recycle bin and drop it in
That's
the
so
bin.
awesome.
But the local
Yeah.
talent, we were talking about the directors from the DMV, and we ended up
Oh,
filming
wow.
this in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, nice.
Look at that.
So so that's why
Wow.
I'm like, everybody's moving to Atlanta. They used to all move to New York or LA. Everybody's moving to Atlanta now. But there's so much talent still
Yeah.
here at the DMV, you know, so we
It
try to
is.
promote them as often as we can everywhere we go.
And you mentioned so it aired every day for 8 months straight,
Yes.
which is also not very common. That's
Not
good.
at all.
You don't find
Yeah.
that. Usually the
Yeah.
running streaks are like 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
sometimes a little bit less. That's pretty. So I think we were talking about this earlier, Elizabeth as well. There was a certain show you mentioned that this also kind of aired on as well, which again is a good platform. I think you mentioned Ellen. Was it Ellen, or was that something different?
The commercial aired, we were told, every day during the Ellen show.
Yeah, okay, during the Ellen show, yeah.
That's an expensive
Well,
ad
it is.
buy,
That's what I was
right?
saying. Yeah.
That's an expensive
Ellen?
ad buy, especially for 8 months. And
Oh, yeah.
she did 3 spots, I think. It was
Nice.
the one with Ivy, the one where you're standing talking about the different items
then
to
the
be
other
recycled. And then I think there was one more that she did.
Yeah.
But altogether, they have like 8 spots, 10
Wow.
seconds, 15 seconds,
Nice.
and 20 seconds.
Nice.
And they ended up rotating through several times a day.
Wow.
For 8 months straight. It was from October till this past June. So, you know,
Nice.
again, it was, you have to pick and choose because she's in school full time.
Yeah.
And she still has to dance the technique. She won't give that up. And then there's performances. And then there's the filming projects,
Yep.
and then there's the volunteer work, which she won't give up either.
Yeah.
So you really have to pick and choose. So sometimes you give up the television role, but you do something important like
Yeah.
Tech Pathways. Do you want to talk about that?
I was in a commercial that was shown all through Northern Virginian schools,
Wow.
and it talks about their career paths that they could take for technology.
Wow.
So
Okay.
the reason that was important is I think they wanted to roll that out, and
Yeah.
Virginia's Governor Ralph Northam helped
Yeah.
to launch that project. But that was important because they wanted to educate all these kids
Sure. Yeah.
on tech careers, and I think they want to replicate that maybe in Maryland, maybe in
Nice.
DC. So you know that was another project where we're like, okay, that's a great
Yeah.
project, but there's also social benefit
Yep.
to it.
Exactly.
You know.
Yep.
And we touched on this a little bit where kids nowadays, there's a lot going on.
There is a
They're
lot.
trying to figure out
Oh,
who
yeah.
they are
There's
on
two
top
babies.
of, you know, school and career paths. So this was wonderful because, you know, not every kid's going to end up going to college.
Right.
Not every kid can afford to go to college.
Right.
So, right?
I couldn't afford it. I'm still paying for it.
Yeah. So
I
there
didn't
are
even know.
high-tech careers as well as, you know, vocational careers, right?
Right,
So
right.
that was great because,
Yeah.
you know, kids getting out of high school, they need a direction.
That's
They
true.
need to
Yeah.
know. So hopefully it'll be rolled out to other states,
Hopefully,
other
yeah.
counties as well.
Yeah.
That would be nice, especially here.
Yeah,
would be
we
nice.
need more mentorship for kids, especially in Maryland and DC area. Yeah, because that's the thing is you get lost. Well, I don't know about you, Isabelle, but when I was a teenager, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I always wanted to do acting. That I did know. I didn't know that. A little secret I never told you guys was I used to, my favorite show of all time, and still really is, has always been Friends. We're going to have a session after the show. I literally can recite lines from every episode. It's pretty sad, but I'm obsessed with that show, as well as I used to love Full House. So, well, if you're looking to
We can
adopt,
swap lines. We can swap lines.
we can swap
just
lines.
going to say that
both.
can we adopt you?
I'm ready. But when I was a kid, it was so like I didn't know why I was interested in it. I just wanted to be able to, well, for one, show that I can do it. But for two, I had such a passion to be able to study something, organize myself, prepare for something, and deliver the way I needed to. And I was at such a young age, I didn't understand how that was processing and why. But I used to print out online. You can get scripts from shows,
Yeah.
all the shows. I used to print out the scripts, and when the episode would come on, I would check the TV guide to see what episode's coming up, and I would print the script, and every episode I'd play a different character, and I would study the script, and that would help me prepare at a younger age of like 12, 15-ish for being able to study a script and know how to, without having to keep looking back at it, to recite lines and memorize.
Right.
And that's how I learned how to, the memorization piece of studying scripts was doing that. That's a tip I always give people who are interested, because you can get any script online for any
That's
show.
true.
And especially if you have them on DVD, I do.
Yeah.
You can choose any episode you want to. So,
Well, that's actually a really great tip because, I mean, one of the things that dance and acting has in common is the amount of memorization, short time to prepare. I mean, she can tell you about both instances, but why don't she give an example of one instance where you had very little time to learn an entire 3.5 piece of choreography and the importance of why you had to learn that. Do you want to talk about that?
I had to learn like half of my competition solo on the side of the stage right before I performed because we didn't have the music and.
Oh wow!
Can you imagine, Janae? You don't even have the music, and your choreographer is choreographing your solo that you're competing on stage, and you're on the side of the stage learning your solo, and everyone else learned it 5 months ago.
Yeah.
You learned it, and you literally step on stage and perform it for the first time. And that is the competition.
Yeah, and you're being judged.
And you're being judged. And you did really well, so we're very proud of you. But that was one of the few times where she got off the stage and she was like, I need to sit down. I'm never doing that again.
I can only
That's pressure.
Yeah.
Well, the same as acting, right?
Yeah, that's very.
She's gotten scripts where she had to memorize like 30 lines in one night. And then another 30 lines the next night, for the entire week of filming. So it's almost using the same skill set, right?
Do you compare the two, Isabelle? Like, do you think it's harder to study routines and memorize routines for dance or acting, or are they about the same for you, do you think?
I think they're about the same.
About the same? Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, I had a very short dance career. Very short. But that memorizing is the same. But I think for me, right, because with memorizing lines, you're memorizing the lines, and also there isn't really an emotion to memorize the lines. But with dance, you also have to memorize like the timing, the movement. It's the same, but for me, it would be a little different and more difficult with dance.
And you know what? The director dancing.
Exactly.
You don't do a retake.
Exactly. Like techniques, we heard Justin's technique of memorizing. What's your technique of memorizing lines, or if you have to learn a dance really quick?
With dance, I over it and the counts and stuff, and listen to the music a lot. And then with acting, I will read over the script and then read it backwards too, because then I feel like if you know it backwards, then you also know it forwards.
And most people don't even think like that. That's awesome. That's a tip for everyone who's viewing.
That is a tip.
Who's interested in getting into acting? Because I don't even do that. I don't read it backwards. I probably should. I'm gonna try that next time. I usually always study, of course, my lines first. Go through it at least once or twice, see if I know it without looking, and then I'll go back and read everyone else's part, so I know when my part comes in, without looking at my lines again. So, but I've never looked at a script backwards, because for me, I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna forget the whole thing. I'm sure I won't, but
if I have to memorize something really fast, what I'll do is I'll record myself saying it, because I can learn faster hearing it. So if I'm driving to wherever I have to go, I'll listen to it, and so I'll know what it is that I have to say when I need to say it, and then I can put whatever emotion in later. But at least I have the lines memorized.
And hearing yourself say it too makes a difference.
Yes.
Wow.
That helps me. Let me tell you a little story, right? So when I was younger, I knew I wanted to act as well, but I didn't have the mindset of, let me go on, was the internet around? Yes, it was.
The internet around?
I didn't have
she must think she's 100 years old.
I didn't have the mindset to go to say, let me print out. So what I used to do was, don't laugh at me. So I would create scenarios in my head, right? And I would act out those scenarios. So for example,
smart though.
I would. So like if it was say I went to school and somebody said something I didn't like. So I would create this whole scenario in my head, right? And I would act off of it, right? And then I don't know how to explain it, But whenever, like once I got on set, depending on what it was that I had to do, that scenario I created in my head prior to it, I was able to memorize or even know how to react to what somebody would say, and then if I had a script, I would still take that script but still react, like create a completely different thing that would probably just relate more to me so that I could relate to
Like
it,
more
type of
emotion.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I used to do.
Yeah. I think
You would think I was
personalizing it is what you're
That's
saying.
what it was.
The more you can personalize it, the more you can kind of relate to it and remember it.
Yeah.
And
And
then
it
it builds
just-
your improv skills.
Right, and it just
Improv,
made it feel
yeah.
more real. Because one thing
Yeah.
I cannot stand is when you watch somebody acting and you can tell that they're acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
That's
want
the
it to feel
worst.
as real as possible,
Yeah,
and a
of
lot of the
course.
time you do have to put yourself into that. So, okay, so if I were myself, how would I deal with this? Okay, so how would this character deal with it? And then playing with that, it becomes more real. It feels real, and so when someone's watching you, they feel like it's real. You know, so
But that's also why I love with improv, if you have a good producer or director who's okay with you adding to the script and not just sticking to the dialogue, that's when you become yourself more as well into that character.
that's true. You like improv?
It's hard.
It's not my favorite.
Really? It's so much fun.
She loves it.
I do love it.
Sometimes it's difficult. I think it depends on the project.
Our 16-year-old should get together with you because he loves improv and he prefers stage acting, even though he's done a ton of TV and movies, but he prefers the live improv
Right,
shows.
that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know we have at least one more question we do want to ask before we depart, because we're rounding up on our last few minutes here. It goes by so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I do want to know, if you were offered a role in a movie or a TV show, any role that you wanted, what would you play, or who would you want to play?
Ooh.
Okay, so I would love to play like the villain in a horror movie because I love horror
Really?
movies.
A man after his
We're
own.
going to be best friends.
He loves horror.
I'm always the killer in horror movies.
He is.
Always.
Oh,
Always. Let me tell you something.
he was just
Always.
a killer banana.
The fact that he's always cast as the killer, does that
Is
concern
that-
you at all?
He ate just a little. He doesn't have it all together.
If he
Something
comes in
sad.
with clown makeup, I'd watch it.
Yeah. No, but that's pretty awesome. See, we can be friends. Me and
Yes.
Isabelle. She likes Friends. Ding Ding, number one. And then she wants to be in a horror movie, a thriller.
I think, but there's another side, which is, what else did you?
Yeah, I also would like to be in a series like Riverdale or like
Oh, yeah.
Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah, yeah.
I love those shows, and
Yeah.
I really like how it's set out.
Yeah.
So what role
would be
would you
good.
want to be? You don't want to be the villain there.
Yeah.
You
No,
want
like
to be
the main person, like the heroine.
the heroine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So two
Oh, that
opposite
is so,
extremes.
yeah, so
She's-
opposite, but it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always just opposite extremes. She kind of likes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I hope to see you
Drama.
go for both roles in the future. I want to see you on the big screen as a villain.
Yes.
Maybe Maleficent 3 when it comes out. Because I will be going to see the second one. I love Angelina. And Heroic, I want to see that too. I
Yeah.
want to see how you do in both of those roles. Yeah. And no, Jonah, I wasn't a killer banana in this one.
Oh, you weren't.
The one I'm filming right now,
He was-
it's absolutely... Well, shout out to everyone on the production team and directors. No offense, it's just crazy how I was chosen to be a banana. But it's a Halloween movie, and it is a horror movie, and we're all dressed up in costumes, but I'm the only one that actually has a costume on. Everyone else has normal outfits that look pretty cute. But I'm a banana.
He's a
And, there's not much to do there except just act like a banana. But they're so good about allowing us to do improv and open up and do what we want. So we add so much to the script by being ourselves. And the comedy in this movie, when it comes out, is going to be on Amazon. The comedy is going to be hilarious, but it's a horror movie at the same time.
I can't
So
wait.
keeping that in mind. And there's pretty interesting photos. If you guys go on Facebook and look at, it's called Shriek Show. Shriek Show. They already released some of the photos while we were on set filming. Just a little snippet, but you'll see the makeup involved and the special effects is on point.
That's awesome with the horror productions.
Yeah.
That's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
The hair and makeup and the special effects.
Yeah, I think it took about an hour and a half for me just to get into, which isn't really that long if you think about it, into the makeup. And, you know, after sitting there for like 6 hours, it just, I had something on my neck in this case, but it's just, I went home and was rashed out for a whole week. Literally, because all like the latex and the glue they use, and it was insane. It was worth it. It was worth it. But
It's tough being a banana.
It is. Really. Apparently.
yeah, sometimes, the whole time I just had a splitting headache on set.
You
But
were the best banana I'd ever seen.
it was very fun. But no, we certainly appreciate all of you for coming.
Thank you.
Mom and Dad, and of course Isabelle, thank you for coming. Shout out to your brothers as well. They are very helpful in the community with you as well, helping for different causes and different things. But I do want you to give out your social media, if you don't mind.
My my Instagram is Isabelle_Zombron.
Isabelle_Zombron. So last name is Zombron. Zombron. I had to ask before the show starts because I refused to say it wrong. And I heard a few different things. I mean, you guys were telling me people add letters to it. And
All the time.
Yeah.
They change our nationality with letters. And
They can just do it so quick, just like that. Yeah, it's insane. Anything else you want to say, Isabelle, before we go to the viewers or to people maybe who you've worked with before in different events or volunteering? Anything you want, it's completely open. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming in. You
Come
are
by anytime.
Yeah. I know it's a drive. But anytime you want to come by, though, the door's open for you. You are welcome at this table at any time, and you both as well, okay?
as soon as you drive, there's never traffic in the DC area.
I know, right?
Never.
An hour in one spot is not a bad thing, right? 5 minutes of a move.
Thank you all so much for having us.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
appreciate
for
it.
coming.
Yes, and thank you all for tuning in again to Out the Box Radio Show. We will see you next week with another special guest, of course, right here on RadioOnFire.com every Thursday. See you next week.
Yeah, so as soon as